review. Book One is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book, The Dad Jokes Haggadah, no other than Mr. Martin Bodek.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Martin, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. Name is Martin Bodek. I am an author of so far 13 books, and I do have the pile right here. Even though we're mostly going to talk about the Dad Joke Sagada today, so this is my pile. So far, so good.
Yeah, so far so
I'm
good.
trying to get it to reach the top of my head, and so
Yes,
far I've gotten to my calf.
yes.
Yes, and this is the latest book that we are on tour with at the moment, the Dad Jokes Haggadah. There's I can position it so it doesn't have the glare. And thank you for having me to discuss all my wares and this latest book.
Definitely, Mr. Martin Brodak. Thank you so much for sharing your books to the world. So, what is the Dad Jokes Haggadah about?
Well, first of all, a Haggadah is the text that Jewish people use on the night of their Passover. We have something called a Seder, which basically means order. And we go from the beginning to the end of the meal following certain procedures and rituals and so forth. And we have this text that accompanies the evening. So it's been produced for, 1,500 years at the moment. And for millennia, it was just a simple text. And then at the turn of this century, it started getting a little more playful so that children can get involved. And then at around 2017, the Hogwarts Haggadah was produced by a rabbi named Moshe Rosenberg, and I took that as inspiration perhaps to start producing my own. So we put out the Emoji Haggadah, which is basically a text written entirely in emoji, and I think I'm still the only person in the world to write an entire book made out of emojis. After that was the Festivus Haggadah, a Seinfeld parody, the Coronavirus Haggadah, which nobody wants to talk about, the Shakespeare Haggadah, a Star Wars Haggadah, and this one has been extremely successful so far. And now we are up to the Dad Jokes Haggadah. So every Haggadah that I've written so far is very niche. There are only certain kinds of people who could read them, right? No, but not everyone's going to read a Shakespeare Haggadah or a Shakespeare anything. But I did manage to sell it to literature-loving types. And the Dad Jokes Haggadah is finally one that's just for absolutely everyone. So you're sitting around, it's a long, boring evening, but people can sit and look at this and enjoy themselves. What I basically did was there's a Hebrew text, which is the classic text on one side, and then on the adjoining side are jokes that are relevant to what's being said at the Seder on the Hebrew side. So while the leader of the Seder goes through the entire text, people can be riffing on jokes as all of this is going on, and this is a service that I'm providing to the public, I suppose.
Yes, indeed. Interesting, Mr. Mark. So, how does the book blend humor with the Passover story?
Basically, what I'm doing is Passover needs humor. There's a lot about Passover that tries to invite the kids to engage with everything because it takes a while before you get to the fun and you get to the food. So this allows it to be a funny affair from beginning to end. As I mentioned, for like centuries, it was just the text. It was just it. People must have sat around like waiting for things to happen. There's a comedian named Sebastian Maniscalco who makes fun of the fact that he once went to one of these Seder events and was waiting for the food to roll out and he just didn't understand what was going on. Well, if he had this in his hands, he'd be
Yes.
enjoying himself while all the boring stuff was going on. So it helps pass the time. And it helps keep things light and funny, and it helps keep people engaged and interested. That's basically been the point of all the stuff I've produced so far. But this one I think is something that everyone can sit around and like fight over to see who's going to hold it. So I recommend many per table.
Yes, definitely highly recommended, people. So, Mr. Mark, what role did dad jokes play in making the Haggadah more engaging?
Well, as I explained way in the beginning, uh, it's a boring text. Basically, the leader sits there, reads it all out while people stare at him, and people wait for the food to come out, and it doesn't, because it has to come out at a certain point
Time.
in the proceedings, and people are waiting and people are waiting and people are trying to keep people engaged and people are getting impatient. So this is meant to interject into the boring part of the proceedings and keep things light and merry and interesting and fun. And that's basically what I'm literally and figuratively bringing to the table.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. Mark, how does the book balance reverence for tradition with comedy?
That's a fair question. So my balance is literally the book itself. So with all of my Haggadahs so far, the text, the ancient text that's been there for a very long time is right there. It's unchanged. I didn't mess with it. I didn't do anything with it. I let it be as its sacred self. So it's untouched and unmessed with. I didn't do anything with it. It's left exactly the way it is. So this is for the leader to read and anyone else who wants to follow along. And anyone else who can't because they're impatient can simply switch over to the funny side and have a look there. But it's a correct question and a fair question. The reverence remains because it's there as a utility on the left side, and the jokes are on the right side, and they don't even have to cross each other. Each can inhabit its own sacred space.
So, how about the humor in storytelling? How does the humor enhance and retelling of the Exodus story?
It elevates the atmosphere because um, especially teenagers who it's hard to get their attention nowadays, right?
Yes.
They have a 20-minute attention span, then a 15-minute, and now it's an 8-minute attention span, and it's just getting shorter and shorter. So this helps to bring people and keep people at the table. Um, it's been my personal experience and basically the societal experience that it's really hard to keep the teenagers at the table. It's hard to draw them in. There's nothing fun going on, and this is designed to pull them there and keep them there and keep them as engaged as possible. So I actually I do hope I'm going to succeed with this. I've gotten nice feedback from the previous Haggadot that I've written. The emoji Haggadah, for example, I get nice emails about that every year. People are telling me, it was kind of hard. I wasn't getting along with my son or something. And then, you know what? I showed him this
Yes.
Haggadah. We talked about it. It was nice. So I think this has the potential to accomplish the same. Where a person could be, sitting in his bedroom all bored, not wanting to take part in anything, he could be at the table, or she could be at the table, looking over these jokes and having themselves a good time.
Yes. Indeed, to encourage your people or your children not to do always on the screen of their tablet or whatever cell phone.
Yeah,
So, what are the some examples of the best dad jokes featured in the book?
let me see. Um, most of the jokes in the book are one-liners, quickies that are easily absorbable. Again, because we're talking about human attention spans, and they're very very short, and I totally get it. But the last joke in the book takes up the entire page. So, and that's one of my favorite. It was one that was told by Norm Macdonald when he was on an episode of Conan. And it's a very long one. It's a very good pun. It's way too long to tell, but I love the short ones. And one of my favorite is what do you call the small rivers in Egypt?
Yes, awesome.
The
So, in what way? Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
the answer is juveniles.
Juvenile. Oh, yes. So, in what ways does humor make religious tradition more accessible to younger generations?
It helps because people kind of believe that religion itself is um, looking for a good word, staid, staid, meaning uh, stodgy. Ooh, it's another big word. Too rigid and ritualistic and unfun.
Yes.
Passover allows for a little bit of a break in that action. Certainly now, once these Haggadahs have been produced by others like myself, including a parody Haggadah writer named Dave Cowan, and it helps. It helps a lot. It shows that there's room for it. There's room for humor. It doesn't have to be dull and boring and just eye rolling, which is what teenagers are really good at.
Yes.
It's allowed to be put into the proceedings, into the atmosphere, to elevate the experience. Humor has its place in all places, in all situations, as appropriate. So I think the Haggadah um, lends itself because it's become accepted, certainly in this millennium, in the past 20 years. Once books started being catered for children, and then now being catered to teenagers, that it's a perfectly acceptable route to keep them engaged and keep them coming back, and helping them to practice the unfun and kind of boring stuff that's usually part of religion. So it helps to move things along. It helps to trust and have faith that it's not all boring. It doesn't have to be. You can introduce some levity into the atmosphere.
So, Mr. Mark, let's talk about the Passover tradition and teachings. How does the dad jokes Haggadah explain the significance of Passover rituals?
I don't know if jokes explain the significance of Passover, but they
Yeah.
certainly help to move things along. So the text that's in place, the Hebrew text that's on the side, that is absolutely preserved, and that speaks better of the history, and allows for delving into the story. I wouldn't know if you just read the jokes from beginning to end, if you would get a spiritual uplifting. I think I think you would need both. I think you would have to engage with the classic text in order to do that. Because if you only did the humor, if you only looked at that side, I think you'd be missing something. So the point that I've made, therefore, is everything that's said on the Hebrew side. I tried to find a joke that's absolutely relevant to it. I didn't do things haphazardly. I didn't just jam a whole bunch of jokes in and said, okay, fine, this is all related to Passover and have yourself a good time. I took a lot of painstaking effort to make sure that there's a one-to-one relationship with everything that appears on the Hebrew side. And I hope and I think that I did a good job. And I'm proudest of the page. The 10 plagues are listed. And
Yes.
I spent a long time finding the 10 best plague jokes that I could get my hands on. I sat there. I had like a top five and a rating system. And like, which is the funniest? Which is the best? And I think I finally settled the matter, and I think I came up with a very good page.
So, does the book introduce any unique or creative interpretations of the Seder?
Did I? I don't think that I created something new out of whole cloth. I didn't. I did because again, I did not um, mess with the sacred
Yes.
text.
Yeah.
But um, I'm just looking at the book right now. I'm riffling through it to see if there's anything innovative. Well, I made my own jokes as I as I write in the introduction. Like I have a breakdown of the elements of the book. So in the introduction, I write 43% of jokes were left in the original form as I found them. 28 were reworded. Nine were reformatted for space considerations, and I wrote 7% derived from my pure imagination that I made up completely by myself. I'm very proud of those. And I took a lot of 2% were refashioned church signs. Funnily enough, people are amused by this.
Yes.
Church signs are funny, and I
Certainly.
I switched them up and I switched them around and I did something fun with them, and they're peppered throughout the book.
Fair enough, Mr. Martin. Fair enough. So, what would be your advice for those people out there who want to write the same theme? What are you doing right now?
Uh, Leave it to me. I'm
Leave it
taking
to
good
Mr.
care.
Martin.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are others who do parody Haggadot as well. I've mentioned their names. There's Rabbi Moshe Rosenberg and Dave Cowan. And even though they write Haggadot, they come at it from a completely different angle. I keep the text intact and I interweave the best commentary I can. So, for example, with the Shakespeare Haggadah, I interwove as many quotes from Shakespeare's 37, 38 plays as I could into the English text. Dave Cowan creates teleplays, like as if people were sitting down at a Seder table and having a discussion. And Rabbi Rosenberg does it from a perspective of what lessons you can learn from the from the topic that he's discussing. So, for example, he has something called the Superheroes Haggadah, and he basically wove the entire Marvel mythos into the Haggadah, and it was very fascinating. And he talked about leadership styles and qualities and brotherhood and sisterhood and heroism and so forth, and it was quite a fascinating endeavor. So I would say that if you want to create something, find your own path, find your own lanes, see where your creative mind takes you. Try to create something a little different from the three styles that I just described, and have yourself a good time. There's you have the world's permission to be as creative as possible.
Definitely. Thank you for your advice, Mr. Mark. And what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
In writing, well, I'm trying to branch out in many directions as I can. The Haggadah obviously keeps calling me back.
Yes.
I wrote my grandfather's World War II memoirs so that I wouldn't be a one trick pony. Um, so I'm working on the next Holocaust book idea, and I'm working on what might be the next Haggadah idea. I'm actually spitballing ideas with friends and with Dave Cowan, trying to figure out what the next idea might be. So as I introduced my book stack to you, I'm trying to create a book stack as tall as I am. It's going to take me another, I think, 74 years, but we'll get there. So one book at a time, actually two books at a time, and we're just going to keep pumping this out. I've been publishing books since 2010, so basically averaging a little less than one per year, but we're going to try to get the ratio back to one per year and do that till the wheels fall off.
Yes. Good luck to your goals, Mr. Mark. And hoping for more jokes to come.
All right.
So let's talk about cultural and religious impact of your book. How has humor used historically in Jewish storytelling and traditions?
Interesting question. It's a deep question. There's a higher or a pretty high ratio of comedians in Jewish society. History has not been so kind to the Jewish people, and humor, I think, has been a way for the Jewish people to cope with their tragedy. It's a deep and very intertwined part of our human experience and existence, and very important. Um, I've actually been to funerals where the eulogist interjected humor into the the goings on, because he found the place for it at a certain point. And we try to find humor as best as we can, and that's why I think these have been so very well received, because this is not even a dirge or a mournful atmosphere. This is a joyous holiday atmosphere, and humor wasn't classically introduced into it. But as soon as these books started being produced, everyone just allowed it to happen. Usually, you get religious types like, "We can't change anything about what we're doing. Tradition. Nothing's allowed to change." But this, for some reason, got accepted, and there was a poetic license to go ahead and proceed, which is very welcome. So I feel like I've put out this work into an area that allows it to breathe and to flourish, and I'm pretty thankful for it.
Yes, congratulations for the
Thank you.
success. So, what reactions have religious communities had to the dad jokes, Hagada?
So far, so good. It's actually just recently been published just a few months ago, but people are loving it. People are saying this is the one. uh, this is the
No
one.
violent reaction.
Yeah, because the others, like I mentioned, how long have we been talking? About 20 minutes ago.
Yes, 20
Uh,
minutes.
yeah, like Shakespeare is for the literary types, and emoji Haggadah is for 8 to 12-year-old girls. That's the ones who read emoji. Coronavirus is for nobody. It was written for a specific age and happenstance in human history, and people are just letting it go. When I bring that with me, it just doesn't sell anymore. It's hilarious. It sold like fire in 2020 and 2021, and since then nothing. Festivus also is just for Seinfeld fans, but jokes are universal. Everyone loves a laugh. It's being very well received, and it's doing quite well. It reached the number one Haggadah on Amazon. I even reached religious humor. I got to number 3, number 2. We'll see if I can still get to number 1 because the busy buying season is about to come up.
Yes.
It's where are we? We're about 3.5 weeks to Passover at the moment, and it's selling well, and it's going to continue selling well, and hopefully even past the Passover date.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. Martin, in what ways can humor strengthen family bonds during religious celebrations?
Well, the family that laughs together
Stay together.
stays together. It doesn't
Yes.
rhyme so well, so I'll work on that. But humor, I think, is a good connective tissue. It's like a movie, man. It's like when you're sitting there laughing with people, then you're getting along, right? If you're watching a funny movie and you're afraid to laugh with the person next to you, then something's wrong there. So humor opens the communication channels between two people because people just love experiencing humor and laughter together. It's a spice of life, and certainly I think this is an important and capable vehicle to accomplish that.
Laughter is the best medicine, people.
Ah,
So we need to laugh.
yes, we do.
Yes, indeed. So before we wrap up our discussion for tonight, Mr. Martin, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, People, fifth season, with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. So please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letters senders all over the world. So please do listen, Food 101, wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Martin, would the dad jokes Haggadah work as a teaching tool for children and those new to Passover?
I think it will. That's a good question. As a teaching tool, yes, as we've discussed and has been obvious throughout our discussion, it's a capable vehicle to bring people into the world of ritual. I think that we've been doing it wrong for millennia. Like we show people the hard ritual of stuff and then allow a little bit of space for humor. I think it can go the other way around. Bring the humor and then start there and then pepper it in with ritual. I think it would work better for humanity if we did it that way. It's entirely my opinion, but I think we should be willing to try to test it and see where we get.
Definitely, Mr. Martin Bodek. Thank you so much for sharing your books to the world. And we are looking forward for more and more and more and more empowering books like this. So can you please invite our listeners to support your books?
Yes, please. At any point, please feel free to drop by martinbodekbooks.com. That's me. That's everything I do. That's updates on everything I'm doing. There's an email list there, and all the information you could possibly be looking for. So martinbodekbooks.com. That's your one-stop shop for anything to do with me whatsoever. Enjoy your stay and stay a while.
Yes, indeed. Yes, people, let's support Mr. Martin Bodek because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more empowering books to come. So, Mr. Martin, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you. I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much for having me. This has been fun, and you've been great.
More to come, people. See you soon.
Take care.
Likewise, Mr. Martin, thank you so much